Hello again, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about a season that is coming up soon, and that season is winter. What you should know about your roses during winter, and what you should be very careful with during winter. And without further ado, let's get started. Now, the first thing that springs to mind when I say winter and roses is many of you would want to be very careful about the temperature and would want to protect your roses from the cold temperature. And that is also a very correct and fair point that when the winter starts, you have to be ready to, you can maybe shovel up some soil around grafting point on your most fragile roses. You can kind of cover them with branches and a lot of other things. Maybe you could put some isolating material around your standard roses and a lot of other things. But I think you guys are already well aware that you can put a bit of soil up on top of the grafting point of your roses, like 5 to 7 centimeters, and protect them a little bit from the winter if they're very fragile roses. What I do think, however, is a lot of you kind of underestimate the other things that can go wrong for your roses during winter. And I think for a lot of you, those things can actually kill more of your roses for you than the simple cold. And let me explain here, and I'll just give a hint here. Let's bring up here and we'll just write waterlogging, and you guys will probably see what I'm talking about. Soil that is overflowing with water. And often what happens is people would think about the temperature. They will winter cover the roses. They will do all these things to protect them from the cold. But the one thing they forget is that autumn and winter can be very wet months with a lot of water. And what happens if your rose is sitting constantly in this water is simply that it drowns. Like I've said many times before, roses need a healthy exchange of water and oxygen in very equal amounts. And what often happens during winter months is your soil gets waterlogged, and the roses sit around in this waterlogged soil, and they start to drown and they start to rot. So for a lot of you, you'll always blame the temperature for your roses not making it through the winter. But for a lot of you, it can actually be your waterlogged soil. And this was actually something I didn't know as a very young rosarian, and trust me when I say I probably lost like 6 to 8 roses to waterlogging before I became aware of it. And the reason a lot of people don't really take it seriously is they think, oh, these roses, they're used to, I can place them in a bucket of water for 5 days and they're all right. Why would they mind being stuck in this waterlogged soil for 2 to 3 weeks? And honestly, they don't mind it that much for 2 weeks, but when you get to 3 to 4 weeks, that is when you're starting to get in trouble, really, because roses really don't like that, and a lot of them can actually die. And that's why I made this video now, because you can start noticing if you have soil on your ground that is not, or in your garden that's not well draining. You can start noticing if you have these waterlogged areas in your garden, because those areas will turn absolutely deadly to roses during the winter months, when water is always gathering there, and the roses never get any oxygen to the roots. So waterlogging is definitely one of the most frequent killers of roses. And I would nearly say that I believe they kill more roses than the frost itself, because oftentimes with the frost you will often be lucky that the crown survives and the rose shoots from the bottom. But oftentimes with waterlogging, the whole root will rot for you, so there's nothing to really survive there. Another thing I find people don't really think about during the winter months is when they plant things in pots. And let me explain here. I'll just bring up another picture here. And let's see here. See if we can catch this. Yeah. What will happen often during the winter is you will have roses in pots, and those pots will be freezing. The issue here, and it is going to sound very counterintuitive to everything you know, but I swear it is true nonetheless. What happens to pot plants during the winter months is all the water in the pot gets tied up into this frozen ice. But the pot plant still has to use water. It has to use moisture because you have the winter sun baking on it. You have these very, very harsh cold winds that kind of tends to strip everything of fat and moisture. You probably know this already if you're just walking outside during the winter and just feeling your own skin. And the fact is, your pot plants still have to use water during the winter months. But the issue for a lot of pot plants is that all the remaining water is simply tied up into ice, and the plant can't use it. So even though this sounds counterintuitive, you often sometimes have to put a bit of water into your pots when they're frozen solid, and to avoid that your plants die from drying out, dehydration. And I know how silly that sounds because you can see the ice there, you can see the snow there, and you're thinking, oh, that is all water. But the truth is that that water is not available to the plant. It is bound up. And when the plant is the canes have to deal with this evaporation from the sun, from the harsh wind, and a lot of other things. These plants can sometimes get dehydrated. And that is why I say it is often counterintuitive that you have to water something that is frozen. But it is nonetheless true. And that is one of the curious aspects of gardening. Now, I hope during this video I explained a few things that can go wrong during the winter. That is not just the cold temperatures. You also have something like animals. Animals will sometimes eat the bark and they will eat the roots, and a lot of things can go mechanically wrong. But really underestimating waterlogging, underestimating dehydration during winter months, and a lot of these things, not just focusing on the freezing temperatures. Those are the mistakes I see a lot of people make, especially that waterlogging. Waterlogging is, I would say, even more deadly for your plants during the winter months than the cold, freezing temperatures. So really be careful, and that is why I made this video now, so you can start noticing if you do have waterlogging on your ground where you have roses, and if you do, you now have time to improve that situation or move the roses, or at least be mindful of it, and so you can notice during the winter if there is a lot of water that has been sitting there forever. And if there is, you might want to take your precautions because it is one of the most frequent killers of your rose plants. So yeah, guys, take care there and have a wonderful week.